Hi everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with JS Hobbies and Crafts, and I have another free tutorial for you, baby albums. I did the girl and the boy in this tutorial. So if you're taking the girl, it'll be a snap. If you're taking the boy, it's right there too. So let's move on to take a look and learn a little bit more about what our project is today. So I've got both of these albums here to show you before we go into the materials list. Let's start off with the baby boy album. Now both of these are the same, it's just swapping colors, other than I did add a little lace around the edges here at the end of the video to show some different ideas that you could do. So this ends up after assembly. It's a 7 by 8 3/4. That's after assembly, and 3 1/4 inch spine. And I tried to make this simple, so even beginners, of course, they can make this no problem. Just follow step by step. It features a swing latch closure, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, this is not only for die cutters. I did cater to the non-die cutters. In the materials list, this comes up. However, if you're going to be using the same die as I did, you can die cut yours and save a little money there. And that's the back. Okay, so this is just a swing latch, and my next tutorial I do is going to be a travel album, and I'm going to do the same thing. So if you're going to be making the travel album, then you'll want to pick up a couple of these on your materials, save a little money on shipping there. So it just swings and it opens up, and I had a lot of fun with this. Okay, so I did use the clear acetate or plastic in this. If you are not a die cutter, this was die cut. However, I do have you make a simple white frame, and we do that step by step, so no worries. This is actually a fold out, but let's take a look at what I have in here. So I've made some folders, and again, we don't do the picture mats or folders at the very end. I did show you how to make this one in the video as we put this down, so you can get an idea how picture mats are made, and also to get one to fit in here correctly. And that just slides out. It has a pull tab. Very cute. This opens up, and this is a great space just to plant a photo, a large photo, or a couple small ones. This is a pocket. This is just a little folder, and you can put a picture in there, or if you want to write some notes down. And this holds a lot of pictures, guys, so don't let it, even though it's for a beginner, you can get quite a bit, because I did. And all I did with this was just slide it back behind. And this is using the EK Tools embroidery punch. Okay, I love this page. This is really cute. This is just a swing that we do together. It just kind of holds this down a little. And I also featured some pop-ups. Now, if you're not doing the pop-ups, you don't have to in this video. I'm going to pull this way so you can actually see. So when you pull it up, this is a little frame you can put a picture on. But right down here is the About Me. And you can do the name, date of birth, parents, siblings, and all that. And I did do a couple more pop-ups in the very last page. Okay, this is a fold out. And this is something you can journal on if you want or not, but this holds some picture mats in here. Some good sized ones. When at the end of the tutorial, I was left with quite a bit, so I could get these larger picture mats in here. Over here, this is a fold out. Back behind the little envelope here, you can slide something in. I did place some things in here. There's a little journaling card. And there's also these that you can use. And you can either layer it onto the white and put it on something, or just use it as is. So there's a little cake. And there are a bunch of these that are numbered 2 through 12 in the first year. And there's also a folder that I show how to make for an idea with 1 month. Okay, you open this up, and again, this just swings. I don't know if I had that swung or not, but that helps to keep this shut. And I didn't use magnets, so that's what we used. Pocket. Got some stuff in there. Now over here, and I didn't put anything in there right now, there's a little teacup, and you can slide something back behind, like so. So it's completely up to you. A lot of options here. Okay, here is the next page. And again, we did the acetate clear so you can see through. And all I did here was stick this in there, and it's a folder. You can journal and put a photograph. And you can also do another one of these where you have the pull tab. This, I just made it so we could slide something back behind it. Here's another one with the pull tab. It just goes right back in there. This is just a really cute little album. Okay, this. Now I left this alone so you can just plant photographs. This unties. These picture mats, I'll show you in a moment, will slide out from behind this. And this is where the solid colored cardstock came into play, so to make sure that we had enough left over colored for our picture mats. So we just open that up. It's like a little mini book inside here. Just plant your photos, lots of places here. Here, these just slide back behind. Little journaling card there. So, okay, next page. This envelope here is also for the pocket, so you can slide picture mats back behind here. In here, all I did was I stuck a small little picture mat, but this would be a great place to put baby's lock of hair, first haircut, put it in a little baggie, put it in there, first tooth, whatever, but those envelopes would work really good for that. Here is a little envelope, and you can tuck something back behind like I did there. And we have a double pocket, and they hold quite a bit of picture mats. Back here, another large pocket. And this is where I was showing where you can make folders for like first month. You can put their photograph in there, or whatever you would like to do. Our next page is what we have is the same thing, the fold out. It's the same exact album, just with different picture mats. Of course, I didn't remember what I put where, so I created my own as I went through the paper. Same thing, we got the envelope, we've got a tag, a little picture mat here. Envelope has some discs. This swings off to the side. This opens up and you've got your picture mats. Here we have the same thing, the acetate. You can pull these out. Same thing over here. Just really cute. We have this, just a bunch of stuff. So same thing. As far as the little pop-ups though, the ones that were used in here were, and I'll show you, the little girl in the buggy. And that opens up. You've got some more picture mats. So that is the albums we're going to make today. I did end up, like I said, building 2 at the same time, and it's taken me a while. I know a lot of you have been waiting. Oh, really quick, when I announced that I was making these albums, our store did get swamped with people buying the paper before the tutorial is released. So there is a little bit of paper left. So if you plan on making this, hop over to my store and pick up your copy. So remember, on my website too, there's a tab, tutorials tab, and you can pull a copy of the materials list there, or just jot it down as you view the materials list. So let's move on to the materials list. So let's go over the materials list for the baby album. Now, if you're going to be making a girl album, you'll want the Stamperia or Stamperia baby girl, and you'll need 2 of these paper packs. There's only 10 double-sided sheets in each. If you are doing the boy album, which is identical to this, just a reverse in colors, you'll want the Stamperia baby boy, and you'll need 2. And these are just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to show you how they are the same. So the first page here, what you have is you have the polka dots, and this has the polka dots. On the back side, you will see, so when I'm calling out for the paper, you will see that they are the same. So it's going to be easy placement for anyone that wants to take this tutorial. The boy page, you'll have the same as the girl. It's just, again, reversed colors. Also, like for this page, this one is here. So you can see that it's just gorgeous, really cute paper. I just love this. And again, on the back, you would see the polka dots. So this is going to be really simple, whether you're doing for the girl or the boy. So 2 packs of whichever one that you want to do. You will also need Tyvek. Tyvek is a very strong material. It does not tear, and this is what is in our binding. And I sell them in the envelope form, so pretty much you just cut strips and you'll have enough for other albums or other binding of other projects. You're going to need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 medium weight chipboard, and then we're going to cut this down to size. You're going to need, I'm using at least, the Coordinations Premium Cardstock. This is 110-pound white. So that is what I'm going to be using. Okay, for some of the neat things I have planned, you're going to need 2 sheets of the 8.5 by 11. It's the clear plastic. I sell this in my store. I sell it to where it's thicker, and it's really good stuff. It's also known as the acetate sheet. The adhesives I'm using, I'm going to have 2 packs here. One is the 1/4 inch score tape, the double-sided. I do recommend score tape. I love it. It's good, and it holds, and it helps with the binding and also setting our pages so they don't warp. Also, I'm using the 3/8 inch, so you'll want one of each. Other adhesive, glue. I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear glue, and I also have the metal tip on there. This is good for paper, metal, resin, wood, a whole bunch of different things. So, but you definitely want that metal tip to save, and you'll get a thinner line of glue on your project. You're going to want the silver nickel-plated swing latch. That's how we're going to be closing our album. So one of these. Next, what you're going to need is some brads, and this is the Tim Holtz long fasteners, and I use this in a different tutorial. I have plenty left, so I'm not going to go and buy new. In this tutorial, I will be using the Lawn Fawn Lawn Cuts. It's the Everyday Pop-Up dies, and these are what give me the little pop-ups. Now, I don't do a whole lot in the album, but this is actually made for cards, and if you want to learn to do pop-up cards, it's the same idea as what I do in the tutorial. So I will be using this one, and if you're interested in pop-up cards and all that, we also have the swivel one, but this is the one I'm using in this tutorial. Okay. Other dies I will be using is by Heartfelt Creations, the Intricate Swirl Frames die. That's HCD27191. This is brand new out by Heartfelt Creations. And I was so excited when they got these. So definitely we're going to be using this. The next one we're going to be using, so this is the Heartfelt Creations Eyelet Lace Frame, HCD2 7192. Now, I used this in the wedding album. A lot of you saw the share I did, but instead of using the Tim Holtz Baroque frames on the spine, we're going to actually be using this beautiful little thing that's going to be die cut and lay over what we decide to put on the frame. This particular one gets used with the acetate, the clear plastic, and I'm really excited about this. We're going to be doing some really fun stuff in this baby album. For my flowers, I'm going to be using the Ariana Blooms, the Heartfelt Creations Ariana Blooms die. I won't be using the stamp. I wanted to just use the die. If you are not die cutting and making your own flowers, check out my store for flowers. 49th and Market has some really pretty light pinks and blues that would go good with this album, as you don't need a lot of flowers. If you are using, if you're going to be doing for a girl, the only two colors I'm going to be using is by Color Box. It's the Shabby Pink and then the pink. And it's very pretty together. If you're doing for a boy, colors I recommend would be the Color Box Robin's Egg and the Color Box Cyan. Okay, also, this is like a staple item to me. It's the Tim Holtz Bouquet. And there are, and this is so affordable too. For small flowers, I use this, and what I do is I just cut off what I need, and then I can blot it with some color if I want, or I can have the white, but they already have the stamens in them, so as you can see, just blotting a little bit of blue or pink, whatever, you can get your colors. You're going to want some ribbon and some pink for the girl, and if you're using the boy or doing the boy, some blue. In this tutorial, you're going to want several pieces of solid colored cardstock. Like for the boy, I've got like a pastel baby blue and a baby yellow. For the girls, I've got a pink and a yellow. For flat back pearls, check your stash. We buy it, we have a ton of them, but I just have a handful here. I have 4 of the Ivory Fancy, I think it's 3/8 inch, and 4 of the Ivory Fancy 1/2 inch. So if you don't have exactly those, you can always go 7/16 or anything around there. So that's, pick and choose what you have in your thing, but about 4 and 4. And if you don't have the fancy, just use the domed. For lace, I'm just going to need 1 yard of one type. It matters not. You just check your stash. Matter of fact, I have to put 2 pieces together to make a yard. This is just going to be for the outside, and I might put a little on the inside. Just pick whatever it is that you like. It's all according to taste, guys. So instead of buying new, check your stash. One thing I am going to be using in this tutorial, and this is the Nuvo Crystal Drops. And this is what I'm going to be using in the center of my flowers. For trims, I recommend going with the large punch. This is EK Tools embroidery. That's a pretty one. It's very delicate. Let's get started. I think that is enough. Okay, here we go. Let's start off with our 2 pieces of 12 by 12 medium weight chipboard. On both of these sheets, we're going to measure over 8.5 inches and cut. So this is what you should have. We're going to turn our pieces to look at them this way, even these. On each one of these, we're going to measure over 7 inches and cut. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have our front and back covers. Let's take this off to the side. You're going to have 2 small pieces. We do not need these for this project, so you can put that with your other chipboard that you will not be using. in this project. Okay, you will have two pieces like this that are 7 inches by 3.5 inches. On both of these, looking at them like this, you're going to measure over 3 inches and cut. So after that cut, you will have these two pieces. We do not need this for this project, so you can put them into your scrap pile for another project. So we have two pieces now that are 7 inches by 3 inches. We're going to put these with our front and back cover. Okay, this piece here, measure over 7 inches and cut. We do not need this piece. Measure over 1.5 inches and cut. Okay, that 1.5 inch by 7 inch is what we want. So put this with your covers. These two pieces we do not need for this project, so set those off to the side for another project. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have two covers. We have, two covers. Go the right way, Shellie. We have a spine piece. We have another spine piece for the side. And over here is the skinny one, which is our wrap over. Okay, we have all the pieces that we need. Let's set this off to the side and get our cardstock out to wrap this. Take 4 pieces of your 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and you're going to have them cut at 9 inches by 8.5. So we're already the 8.5 inch wide, and you're just going to cut them all at 9. So you will end up with 4 9-inch by 8.5 inch pieces. Okay, all of ours are cut. We are 8.5 inches wide, 9 inches tall. So on 3 of these, and you're going to want to make sure that you have it at 9 inches, that you're working with the right way. They're very similar. So on 3 of these pieces, what we're going to do is take our 1/4 inch score tape, and we're going to place it right at the edge of our page without going over the edge. So that's one. We're going to do the same with this one and this one. So let's do that. Once you have the score tape down on the edge, it's only one side of the edge, you're going to want to use your bone folder and burnish these down really good there. Okay, if you have any overhang of score tape, you're definitely going to want to just clip that off. Let's keep this clean looking. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the score tape from one side, and we're going to place the edge that does not have score tape. And again, we're 9 inches tall here, and we're going to place it right over that 1/4 inch. So here's a little tip or something that might make your life easier, because you definitely want to try and keep this straight. And I'm going to show you. I have my cutting board. I'm going to be using the straight edge of this up here to keep me straight. So I'm going to release the score tape off one end. I'll stick this up there. I'm going to grab another piece. My score tape is off to the right. I'm just going to slide that back underneath so that it's up against the edge, and I'm just going to lay this down over the other, and you will find that it's a lot easier to try and stay straight. So again, I'm going to do it on this side. Remove that score tape backing. I'm going to press this up there. I'm going to grab my other sheet, and the score tape is over on this side, so I need to connect it here, and I want to try and keep it so that the paper is going over that score tape as best I can anyway. And it looks like I got it a little bit off, just a hair, and that's okay. Sometimes the paper is even cut strange sometimes, not always perfect. Okay, the last piece, I'm just going to put that right up. Oh, my cat. I've got to clean my countertop. Looks like my cat got on here. All right, best I can do. Again, I'm making sure I'm 9 inches tall. I'll just slide that so that it is back up against there. I'm gonna move it over a little. It might be helpful. Just make sure I'm straight. And I'm gonna come over the top. There, that one went on pretty darn good. Now it's time to use our tool to make sure that those seams are down really good. Okay, we'll be trimming that down just a little bit, but for now, let's do what we need to do. And this will make things a lot easier. So take your ruler, and if you're using one of mine, you'll start at the 0 line, and you'll definitely want a pencil handy. And just make a mark where the 1 inch is there, that it's going to be, or an inch, come down an inch. Anyway, all we're trying to do here is we're going to place the smallest piece over here. We should have an inch of overhang here, top and bottom. Okay, so once you have that, it will make your life easier just to trace around that piece for placement when we do place these. Okay, what you're going to want to do is you can set that off to the side, take your ruler, line it up with the line here, measure over 1/4 of an inch, just make a little pencil mark, grab one of your covers now, whoops, it goes this way, and bring it to the edge of that pencil mark. And you want to be an inch from the bottom and the top, so try to stay even. And we're going to draw, whoops, around this piece. Okay, I can now remove this one. I'll grab my ruler, come over here, and make a 1/4 inch pencil mark again. I'm going to be grabbing my 3 inch wide by 7 inch tall piece, and I'm going to lay that right next to that line, trying to keep the spacing true, the same. Got it. Okay. Next thing, grab your ruler again and measure over 1/4 of an inch. Make a pencil mark. Grab your other cover and draw around your piece. This is just, like I said, going to make it much easier, especially if you've had problems in the past wrapping albums and the spacing and getting it straight. So, okay, so I've got that one. I'm going to move this right on down. Grab my ruler, and I'm going to do it again. 1/4 of an inch, make a pencil mark. Now I need my 3 inch by 7 inch, my second spine piece here. Oops. And again, don't worry about any errors or pencil marks. It's not going to be seen. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take your ruler, measure over 1 inch, and make a pencil mark. That is where we're going to be trimming this down. So at that mark, let's place this on our paper cutter and cut that down. I've got all mine cut. Now, when you were cutting on your paper, you would have had several leftover pieces. We're going to be making 2 piles, and this is just to stay organized and so that we don't have to keep cutting into fresh pieces of cardstock when we don't need to. So one pile is going to be our reserve pile for our scrap cardstock cuttings, and we'll have a second one for our decorative paper cuttings. So, and I call them reserve piles, so off that goes. Okay, we're ready to start wrapping. Let's take the small spine piece here, and I'm going to get out my 3/8 score tape. And I'm going to lay it directly on my chipboard here. What we're going to do is remove the score tape backing and place it in that first drawing that we did. So let's do that. Really quick, and I may not say this continuously through, but whenever you're done placing score tape, and I've got something under here, a flat back pearl, you definitely want to use your tool to burnish it down, okay? So that is a tip. And another thing about score tape, it's kind of like, you know how when you're wrapping a gift package, you're using Scotch tape, the more your fingers get on that adhesive, the less potent, or fingerprints or whatever. That is the same way with score tape. Score tape is really strong. However, the more we get our fingers on it, the less potent. So it's impossible to keep your fingers out of it. So you will want to wash your hands with soap and water to get all the oils off your skin, all the lotions off your skin while handling it. So that is a tip. So let's remove this and place it. If you've never used score tape before, you'll want to use a craft knife to make this easier instead of your fingernails. I used to always try to do that. It takes forever. So just slide your blade right underneath and you'll see that the adhesive stays down and this comes up. And as you get to working with score tape a little bit more, it gets a little easier. Sometimes you just have to work at it to get it up. So here I go, and I'm just going to place that in that little space. Okay. Don't worry about burnishing it. We will as soon as we get all of our pieces down. Okay, let's grab one of our covers. We're going to start off with score tape around the outside like a picture frame. And I'll show you mine. Okay, so you should have laid score tape on each side. All right, we're going to start in the middle, and we're going to place one right down the center. We're going to go in between these two, and in between here. We're going to lay one in between each one of these, and I think we're going to be good with that. So grab your tool, burnish it down really good, remove the adhesive, and place it down. Got the adhesive off, and remember when you're placing it down, you're not going to go up against it. This style of a wrap, we do need a space, so just place it there, trying to stay even with the bottom of this one. Okay, moving on, we're going to go to the spine piece. Let's start by going around the edges like a picture frame. Okay, we're going to go one down the center and one on either side. We got this one down, it's time to do this one. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. Whoops, we're going this way. One down the middle and then continue with doing that. I'll show you mine before I place it. So this is the back cover, so I didn't need so much score tape on there. So I'm just going to remove the backing and place this one. So this last piece is what our side closure, our swing latch, one piece of it attaches to. So you'll want to cover this really good and make sure you burnish before you place it. So once you have it like this, we'll remove the backing and we will place that down. Now cut 4 pieces of your tie vet. We're going to go 1 inch by 7 inch on all of these. And you will need 4 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spacings. Okay, what I like to do is I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch score tape here and I'm going to lay it right at the edge of that chipboard, but make sure you don't get in the little valley there. So we'll lay one there and at the other edge, and we're going to do this with all of them, and you'll have enough tie back. Now if you get your score tape off a little bit and when you place this some of your score tape is peeking off to the side, the adhesive, that's okay. Don't worry about that. So let's do that with each one of these, laying that score tape. Okay, I've got all my score tape down. I'm going to make sure that I burnish this down really good on each one. Okay, so what's going to happen, I'll start over here, is I'll remove the backing, and this I'm just going to line up top to bottom and place it right over that valley there. So here we go. Okay. So we're going to place it, bring it up. Don't push down in the middle. You don't need to do that. Once you have that, you can now burnish that down really good. Okay, let's continue on. We'll do this and this. I've got mine all down. It is time to clip our corners. It's also called mitering the corners. So the easiest thing to do, I think, is to grab your ruler. Now you see the edge, the corner of your chipboard. You'll want to measure out 1/8 of an inch. Make a little pencil mark. And then what you can do is just use your ruler. And sometimes it's easier to do it this way so that you can see to try and get an even corner. Whoops. It's about 5 a.m. here right now and everyone's asleep except for me and the dogs. So we're going to do that. So we're just going to do that on all the edges there and these. So let's do that. Once you've done that, grab your scissors and we are going to cut on that line. This is going to help us when we wrap the edges. So let's clip all of these little corners off there. Okay, so what I like to do, because we're working with 110-pound paper, is I like to just give a little crease here before I put the score tape down, just to help it. Now one thing is when we do end up wrapping this, if for any reason your corners split on you, there are remedies for that. Sometimes it has to do with the grain of the paper, has to do with the stiffness of the paper, and it just happens sometimes. Okay, let's grab our score tape. I'm going to be using my 3/8 here, make my life easier, but all I'm going to do is go around the outside like a picture frame, all the way around, and then I'm going to put it on the chipboard. So I'm going to show you mine in just a moment. Alrighty, as you can see, I'm around the outside and then the outside there of the chipboard. We'll burnish it down and then we will fold in the sides together. So before we remove the score tape, what we're going to do is work this side a little bit. Now, if you've wrapped before and found you just keep getting splits, try not wrapping so tight and pushing so tight, yet you don't want it loose either. So just work your piece. Okay, the sides come in first, so let's remove some of this score tape backing. Alrighty, let's hold this down and wrap this in. And we're going to use our tool to make sure that that's down really good. Let's move on over here. Let's work the sides a little bit to crease. And we will wrap in this side. Okay. Fold it over. And then we'll use our tool. Okay, let's wrap the bottom up. Remove the remaining score tape. You'll want to work this too before you actually do it, because it's going to take a moment, but don't flip it yet because we have the corners over here to push in with our tool. But let's just spend a moment working that. Okay, the corner. Now, if you notice, if you pull it up, you'll have a pokey corner. that's where you can use the burnishing tool just to kind of push down and in there a little, but without, you know, damaging, and then flatten it out. Same goes over here. We want to flatten this in there. Just kind of push that down in to help. Okay, so I'd like to start in the middle. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to work out carefully, little by little. Okay. There we go. Okay, once you have that, don't fold your piece yet. Let's just use our tool to get that down. Okay, let's flip it over. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to remove all of our score tape here, the backing. We'll work the sides a little. And take your time. We're in no hurry. And then we're going to just kind of push down that little edge, tuck it in. The same over here, as best you can. All right. Okay, so we're going to carefully now kind of pull up the side. We're going to carefully do the same over here. Same here. And we'll lift this side carefully. So what's going to happen is the small one is going to be towards the left, the bigger piece over here to the right. And what's going to happen is this is going to come in and this is going to fold over, and our latch is going to be on the side. I find that for something like this, it is easier, Sissy. I find that it's easier to get the latch going now because we're already thick. We're going to install the swing latch now on the side because we still have our decorated paper to go over, but since we have chipboard and 110-pound paper to go over this, it's easier in case we make a mistake to do it now, and then when we lay our paper over, we can come in from the inside where those holes are, and it'll be much easier. But so far, this is what yours should look like. Okay, let's grab our swing latch and some Tim Holtz fasteners, long fasteners. Now, I did lie, you are going to need one of your small pieces of scratch chipboard that I said you'll be using on a different project. We're actually going to need that for a shim. Whoops. We're going to need that for a shim. So grab one of those. Okay, I have a scratch piece of chipboard, and all I'm going to do right now is just cut a strip. Okay. All it needs to be is as wide as this piece here. So I'm just going to go like this, measure it to fit, and cut. I believe that that shim should be big enough. The second piece, and I'm going to grab some glue and glue these together. Set that on top. So this is how you're going to get your swing latch to work properly once we get the holes in and everything. You'll probably want to shim it up like we've done, and then now the latch should be able to go in, and it does. Okie doke. Let's set this off to the side for a moment. So grab your pencil, place this piece right here over your shims. If you have a mechanical pencil, that will be great because you can actually make your lead go further. But we're going to draw circles in there. Okay, this is really thick, so we're going to have to try and get through here. If you have a heavy-duty punch to get through there, do so. If you do not, we're going to need to use the craft knife. And we're just going to have to poke a hole through there. Okay. Once I feel that I'm getting through, I got to make sure that this little brad's going to go through. So let's continue on until we can get through the chipboard on both of these holes, and we're able to slide a brad through it. We don't want the hole too big, but pretty much that's what we want to be able to do. So let's do that. Now, once you have your holes, we're going to need to glue this down together. Okay, line up your holes. So I'm just going to apply glue, making sure I get around that really good. And whoops, line my holes up. And while this is going here, I'm going to grab a brad to make sure I can still get through, that I got my holes lined up correctly. And Sissy is going nuts. Okay, so you should be through this like so. You should be able to get those brads through there. Okay, grab your book. Close it up. The small is over here. If you have right now a pair of binder clips, to make sure that your top and your bottom is even, just to hold it for you. Binder clips work just as well. We just want to keep this so that it stays still for us. Okay, so all we want to do at this point is move this over. And I think you can see, here's the edge of mine. Grab your pencil, make sure it's straight, and draw two holes. Whoops, got off a little there. I think that's good. Okay, you can remove your brads now out of this piece. Line your holes up. This will swing up. Place them together. Okay, you got your holes there. Place them together where they latch evenly. I think I got it there. Okay, once you have it there, hold down that little piece there, and you're going to draw around that. It's going to be easier like this, so you know how to place this for now anyway. Okay, let's open this up. And we are going to do the same thing, going through the chipboard like so, until we can get that brad through there. Okay? We're going to do it with both of these. Aha. So right now, so that I get a good fit, I'm just going to flip this over. There's not going to be much. We're still going to be using a little glue anyway, but we're just going to push these brads over to keep this where it needs to be. Okay? All right. Here's the other part. Let's grab our other piece. We know it's supposed to go here. Double check it. Let's clip these together now. Make sure your holes were correct. Place this in that little square you did. Make sure you're going to latch. And I am. Alright, so now you know that that is a good spot. What you're going to do is to measure up where that hole is. So just bring this over. It's kind of hard once you got the shim on and everything, but I'm gonna put this over to the side here. And I'll do it up here too, where I think this needs to play. All right, now this is the part where if you get it messed up or whatever, it's okay because we do have decorative paper that's going to cover. That's why I say it's a lot easier to do it here and poke the holes through first, because we don't have to sit there and do it through our decorative paper. It's going to just be easier to do. So I think I've got a hole there. Got this. Got that. Let's see. And it's going to be pretty thick. So when we do this, we will be applying glue to this to make sure this stays. I'm going to stick my brads through here. Barely through. So I'm just going to push that down and then push over what I can with my fingers, like so. Okay, let's try this now. Am I going to fit, or do I need to shift it over? I am a good fit. If you do not get it on there correctly, remember, you can always move it around. This is the best place to be doing this. Once you have that and you know where that's supposed to be, now you can take these off, okay, and set them off to the side. And now we're going to be working on getting our inner pages in here. Now, in your reserves, you should have a piece like this. This is what we cut off the side when we were not needing all that excess. So what we want to do is turn it looking like this. Measure over 6 1/4 inch and cut. This small piece goes in our reserves. So we're going to need to completely cover this with score tape. This is what's going to lay our base, our sheets, our hinges are going to come down on top of this. So what happens is if we don't get score tape completely on this, when we place this down, when we bring up the sides, it's going to want to bubble up or make creases in there, and we don't want that. So let's cover this with score tape. I'm going to use my 3/8. The first thing I'm going to do is go around the edges like a picture frame, and then I'm going to fill it in, going across with strips with my score tape. And I'm going to show you mine when I'm done. So my piece is completely covered. You definitely have to burnish. Anytime we use the score tape, you're going to want to do that. Make sure it's down really good. Okay, before we remove the score tape, I'm going to show you how this is going to place. When you place this, you're going to place this centered between, so that you are covering up. You have the same amount of overhang past those little gullies for our spine where it flips. Now you're going to center this top to bottom as well. So if you place your piece here, you should have about, looks like I have approximately 1/2 inch, no, not quite, but a 1/2 inch there, top, bottom. Get it as close as you can. And we're just going to place that. So I'm going to remove my score tape. One tip is if you have any score tape that is peeking over the edge that you can see, you'll want to clip it. All the score tape backing off, and now I'm going to place this as best I can. And that looks good to me. You definitely want to try and keep straight going off across the top there. Okay, once you have this down, definitely burnish it. Really good. Okay, the moment of truth. Now, we're also going to do that over here, but this is the most important part because our hinges go on here and we want a flat surface. So put your hand down on the spine. Gently lift this up. You should not have any bubbling effect because the score tape is holding down. We're going to do that again. Put your other hand down and gently lift this up. And you should have a nice clean looking spine piece. Okay, in your reserves you should have some cuttings here. These are when we were cutting down our 8.5 by 11 sheets for the height of our wrap. Take 2 of them, measure over 6 1/4 inches, and cut. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to cover these with the score tape. Okay, I've got mine done. We're going to do the same thing as we did before, removing the score tape, centering these, and placing them over that hinge. And we're also going to do that over here. So let's do that. Now, I've got the score tape off this. Now, if you notice my holes are right here. When I place this, I am not going to cover up my holes. It's going to make it too difficult to get in there. So I'm just going to go to the left side of that. When I place this, it's still going to cover that hinge. Okay, once you've burnished it, carefully lift it. Just like that. We're also going to do that for this side. I've already got mine down. Okay, all's good. Let's get ready and start cutting for our base sheets. Okay, we're going to cut 5 pieces of cardstock that are 6 1/4 inches by 8 13/16. Now, if you have one of my rulers, it will tell you exactly where that is. It's all spelled out there for you, whether you have this one or you have the wooden one. But to get that 13/16 is just one little notch past the 8 3/4 mark. Okay, so once we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to lay them out on our scoring board. We are 8 13/16 inch across the board. At 8 1/4, we're going to score all of these at 8 1/4. So let's do that. Once you've scored them, let's fold these over, use our burnishing tool, fold on those score lines, and we'll do that with each one of these. Okay, I've got all mine scored. So lay it out to where the peak is up, and I'm using my 3/8 score tape because it's perfect. We are going to lay one piece down that. Make sure you do not get on your score line. So in between the edge and that score line. And we're going to do that with each one of them. So let's do that. Once you got your score tape on, you're definitely going to use your tool to burnish them down on each one. If you have any score tape that is peeking over the edges, you definitely want to clip that off. Okay, so we are ready to place our pages in the book. I'm going to show you really quick what's going to happen here. If you were to pull up one side, you'll see that this, the hinge, can just slide right up against and place. Now, we did place this piece of cardstock. This is your guide. The top and the bottom of this is the same height as this, so that will help you to keep from top to bottom straight. So I'm going to do my first one. We're going to do that together. Where is my little knife? Here it is. So I'm going to release that. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to line it up with top and bottom, making sure I do not go over the crease. But it's helpful for me by just placing this down. I got it on the bottom, and I want to be straight with the top. So I think that this is a good placement. So I'm just going to place that. Okay. I'm going to grab my tool and burnish that down. My first page is set. Let's move on to the second one. This is really easy because they're just going to slide right up next to each other. And if for any reason you got yours crooked or whatever, just try to keep them in line together. But if you got it straight, you should fall in line very easily. See how easy that is? And then we're just going to burnish that down, okay? And our pages will now fall down together. Okay, let's put our third one down. Very easy. Place it up, top to bottom, it is straight, and I'm going to place it. Okay, next one. Same thing. Just place it right up against there. You just take your time, there's no rush. And my last one. Just place that right up against there. And this last one, if you're crooked for any reason, this is where you can straighten yourself out. Okay? Just make sure you're even top to bottom and place it. Our pages are now in our book. So now you should have a nice spacing in between. And then when we close it, they do not hit the other side. Alrighty, so this is all done. It is time to move on to decorating the outside, setting our latch, and then we'll move on to the inside. Alright, we are on to decorating the outside. So while I took a break, I have actually 2 albums because I'm going to decorate the outside of both of these, one with the girl and one with the boy. And so the first thing we want to do is we're going to be keeping everything, including the cover sheets. You should have 2 girl or the 2 boy. In each one, what you're going to do, for instance, this one, we're going to take out this first sheet and we're going to merge it in to this pack. These 2 match, this goes in. And the same thing, I'm going to take off the cover here and I'll just stick that back behind. This one, I'm going to carefully remove, match it up to the one that it goes with and slide it in. We're going to do that for this complete pack. We'll merge it into this one and then we only have 1 pack, and it's easier for me to manage the papers when doing these albums that way when there's only 10 sheets in a pack. Same thing with the boy one. We will merge one of these into the other and again save the cover. Also, just in case we need some border pieces, you'll be saving the back sheet as well. So let's spend a moment and get that all done. Okay, I've got both the girl and the boy papers merged, and it's time to grab our main paper for the outside. In your paper packs for the girl and the boy, you will find these sheets. On the back, we have the stripes. We have the stripes. Okay, the first thing that we want to do is measure over 3 1/4 inches and cut. Same here, 3 1/4 inches and cut. These 2 pieces stick in your reserves. Turn your paper so you're looking at it like this. Let's grab our pencil. Okay, you have 1 block here and you have 1 block here. You're going to make a pencil mark right there. You're going to go 1, 2 and have another one. 1, 2, pencil mark, 1, 2. So what we're going to be doing, and we'll do that the same if you're using the boy, And I'll bring it up so you can see. So what we have here is we're going to be making strips, cutting strips. So you should have these two, and then we are going to cut in between. Then you have these two, and we're going to cut in between. These two, cut in between, and then these two, cut in between. That will give us 4 strips. So everyone, let's do that. I'm just going to double these right up because they are the same, and I'm going to cut. So we have our 4 strips here, 4 strips. Now the reason why and you can just set your piece off to the side for now. Now the reason why I'm doing it like this is because we have to conserve paper, especially on this album where I have quite a bit going on. So we have our strips of pink and blue. We're going to turn these over, and we're going to apply our score tape to the back of each one of these. We'll go around to start like a picture frame around each piece. The next thing we're going to do is we'll lay a couple strips. So on each one of these pieces, we're going to do that. So let's get these ready to go. And remember, we're applying the score tape to the stripe side. And if you're working with that, it's the same thing. We'll apply to the stripe side of each one of these blue ones. Okay, I've got the score tape on the back of my pink for my girl album and for the boys album. Let's set these off to the side for a moment and grab out these leftover sheets that we have. So when you're looking at your sheets, you'll notice that you'll want up in the left-hand corner here the square that's partially cut off, because when we go to lay these strips across the top, we want it to line up, and we have short over here. Okay, so what we're going to do on this one, and then here's the blue one partially cut off, is you see where this little dotted line is? We're going to cut that right on down, and then we'll cut again, but wait for me first. So let's find where we need to cut. If you want to make a pencil mark or just stick it on your paper cutter, but we're going to cut, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like. These 2 pieces I have cut. We're going to set these off to the side. Now, what we have is this. What we're going to do, and I'll show you on this, is we have one row here and another row. We're going to cut right down here. And the same here. So we'll go 1, 2 blocks, and then we'll cut right in between. So let's do that. So now that you have the general idea of what we'll be doing, on this piece that we have here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut right down. We'll have 1, 2 blocks, and we will cut. Alrighty, so what we have right now is we have 2 of these, and we have 1 that's a little shorter. Grab your piece, and we're going to do it one more time. We're going to go right in between, so we have 1, 2 blocks, and we're going to cut. Okay, your leftover piece we're going to stick in reserves. So we should have, for the shorter ones, we have these 3, and then there's one that's slightly narrower. And just so to get the color, people that need more of a color guideline, same thing with the blue. So we're going to apply score tape in just a moment. Let's set these off to the side. Let's get our long strips. And we're going to start putting these along the top. So what you want to pull out right now, where is it? Where's my top? The one I wanted, right here. If you notice on the pink one, you'll have your heart almost in the center, and we will be cut off. That's the one that we're going to start with. put all the other ones aside. For the blue one, you'll have the same thing. The heart is at the top, almost in the center there, and we're cut off on the side. We're going to place these on our album. So I've got both my albums out, and remember the opening is to the right and the front is the small little hinge area here. The back is the bigger. All I'm going to do is remove my score tape, and I'm going to place this down, and I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch of white showing. So I'm going to do that, and here's the boy one. We'll do the same thing. Okay, my hearts are up here. I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit. So make sure that this fits side to side, leaving me about a 1/16 of an inch of white showing at the top. So I've got that down. And I'll be using my bone folder too to make sure. Okay. Get this on there. Alright, so what we're going to want to do is, and I'll get my bone folder out to smooth this down really good in a moment, is we're going to grab another long strip, and you're going to want to make sure that the left side is the cut off side. And it doesn't really matter. These are the two that I am placing on the bottom. And they're identical. The little heart is over here. So we'll do the same thing. We will remove the score tape. We will place it down at the bottom, leaving a 1/16 of an inch of white showing. So let's do that. Now when you're doing this, make sure that you are matching up the same as where you put this on the side. So now I am going to be doing the blue one. Okay, let's grab our bone folder. Okay, let's make sure that this is down really good around the edges. Okay, let's flip this over. Now the large flap is off to the left. We're going to do the same thing here, making sure the cutoff point instead of the full block is over to the left. And I'm just going to pull that right on in, and I'm going to place this just the same way I did the front. So let's remove our score tape and get that down. Okay, we are looking at the front of our album. Remember, off to the right will be the shorter flap. Grab the one that is cut off. It doesn't have a full square on the side. Now place it right up underneath the one up here. Now if you got it off, like I did, I have mine shifted over, this bottom piece shifted over a little more. I'm not going to worry about it because I have lace that's going to wrap the corner. However, I'm going to line it up with the side here, and then I'm going to just pull it over to the left, making sure it's all connected. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a mark where I need to trim it. And I'm going to trim it. And then I'm going to place score tape and place it. So we'll do that together. I've got my line here that I need to cut. Here's the boy one. It's the same exact thing, just placing it right up underneath this, making sure I am even there and making a cut. It is better to make a cut that isn't short. So if you're right here, you think you need to be at a certain point, I would just go just a hair past your pencil mark. You can always trim it up. So let's do our trimming. I've got mine trimmed, and this will work nicely. These little leftovers put in your reserves. Okay, let's place some score tape. I'm just going to go around the outside like a picture frame and one down the middle. And then I'm going to place it. Okay, so I have my pieces down. I'm just going to grab another one like this, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to grab my little pencil, if I can find it. What happened to it? There it is. Okay, so I'm just going to slide this right up underneath, make my little pencil mark, and I can trim it. I'll put score tape and apply it. Also on the back part, you will be doing the same thing. So when you come to the back over here, you're going to have the squares that are shorter. So what you want to do is you're going to line up your piece. You will put a pencil mark to the side where you need to cut, and then you can make your pencil mark down here. So your first cut when you're doing that is going to be this way, and then you'll trim that way. So everyone, let's get our pieces down on our book, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, both my albums, this is what you should have. And here's my boy album. Let's work on getting the paper for this. All right, you will find in your girl paper this print, and in your boy print, or in your boy paper this print. Or on the back side, it looks like this. So to be sure that we all have the same leftovers on the back, meaning someone isn't going to measure over this way, we're going to actually turn our prints over. I think that's a better idea. I want us all to be able to have the same leftover cuts. So looking at your paper like this, we're going to measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut. Okay, so this piece that you have left over, let's stick these in our reserves. All right, now looking at your papers like this, we're going to measure over 4 1/4 inches and cut. We'll measure over again 4 1/4 inches and cut. These leftover pieces will go in our reserves. All right, now we can just flip these right on over. Okay, die cutters. What you're going to want to do is get into your Heartfelt Intricate Swirls frames. And you will get this die out, and you will die cut it. Okay? If you are not die cutting, what you can do is cut a 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 piece of cardstock. And then what you're going to do is glue that right onto the top, or to the bottom of it, so you have a white frame around it. Okay, so you only need one, and it's going to be for the front. The back we won't do, but when you're done die cutting, this is what it will look like when you glue yours down. Actually, I think with the boy album, what I'll do is I'll just do what the non-die cutters are going to be doing. So that way people can see what it looks like both ways. So let's get to doing that. We'll glue down our pieces to our cardstock or our die cut. Okay, I have mine glued down, and all we're going to do is flip this over, and we're going to apply score tape to the back of each one of our pieces here. So once you have that, you can remove your score tape, and you will plant that center just like that. And the boy one. And this has no die cut, will look just like that. Just center it side to side, top to bottom there. So let's do that. I've got both of mine done. We're going to just flip these books right on over. We'll apply score tape to the back, and we will mount that just like that. Same for the girls. Now in your reserves, you should have 2 long strips like this. They're 12 inches long on the back. It's the stripes. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to measure over 7 inches and cut. These small pieces put in your reserves. Okay, let's take a look at our spine here. Place this down. This should now be a perfect fit, giving you a little bit of white at the top and the bottom. So we are going to place score tape, so flip it over, apply the score tape to this side. you're doing the blue album, same thing. When you're placing your score tape, you'll want to go around the edges like a picture frame. You'll do one down the center, and I'm using my 3/8 wide score tape, and then I'm just going to put one in between that center one. So I removed the score tape backing, and now I've placed it right on that spine, and it fits really good. So I'm going to do the one for the pink album now. Okay, so once you have it down, you're going to want to use your tool really good. Make sure it's down. Let's get our paper for over here and get our latch installed. In your paper packs, you'll have another one of these because we merged two. Let's locate it. On the back is the stripes. So with this, you're going to need your pencil. And I'm going to bring up this one so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. So what you're going to want to do is look at it so that your heart is the right way. It's right here. We're going to count 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here is where we're going to trim. Okay, grab your ruler. From the top here of your paper, you're going to come down to 7-inch mark, and you're going to make a pencil mark. So what you're going to do is put this on your paper cutter, and we're going to cut down to right at that point, and it might be helpful too, just to make sure that you don't cut down too far, because we do need the majority of this. So here's my 7-inch mark. Here is where I cut. So my first cut on my paper cutter is going to be down to that point, and then on my paper cutter I'm going to cut straight across so that I have this big piece left. So I'm going to show you mine. And there we go. Okay, so once you have your pieces, we're actually going to use glue, and we're going to apply it to this side. So I'm going to grab my glue. Make sure you get your edges really good. You can wipe off any excess. So I'm just doing squigglies because I know that I will hit where I need to hit by doing this. All right, the best way to do this is split your album open. Make sure you don't bend your stuff. And we are going to place that. Remember, leaving a little bit of white top to the side. We definitely need our bone folder for this. Making sure you get those edges really good. Alrighty, and then once I've done that, I'm going to go stand my album up and make sure the edges is down. Okay, isn't that cute so far? I think that that's adorable. So we now need to get our paper for this, and that is another stripe. So let's grab that piece we had out. I have the girl one out right now. All we're going to do for this one is we are going to count 1, and we're looking at it like this at this point. 1, 2. We will make a mark. We will measure down 7 inches. Make a pencil mark. So we are going to cut it from here, and then we will cut across rather than cutting all the way down. So I'll show you mine in just a moment. So this is what your leftover piece looks like. And this is what it looked like before we cut. So you can see the difference. Okay, everyone, let's get the rest of this done. For this, I'm going to use glue, and I'll apply the glue to the pattern side. And we're going to be going that way now. So when we do this, we will look like that rather than up and down. Something different. So let's do that. So I've got my lace out, and all I'm going to do is cut a piece that's going to fit from top to bottom. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is apply glue underneath. Now when you're applying glue, do not lay your album down flat and glue both pieces, because your album isn't going to want to close. So this is one of those things, and I'm going to use something to prop my album up here. This is one of those things where you're just going to have a little patience when we put our lace down. I think it goes this way. And I'm going to let that dry. So before I go and do the spine here, I want to make sure that this is straight, and it looks like it is. And I'm just going to just gently tap to get that glue down. Once I feel like it's down and I don't need to reposition it, that's where I'm going to fold this back up, this lace up, and I'm going to apply glue right in here, right on the edge. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands while that dries. I'm going to go ahead and do it to the boy album as well. These albums are going to be identical, other than, well, I used a die here and not here, but as far as what we're doing. So let's, everyone, get our lace on. So once you have your lace down for the cover, you're going to do the same thing on the back side. So, for instance, here's the girl one. I'm going to cut another piece and do the same thing. And I'm going to watch to make sure I have the same amount of hangover on the spine. Okay? I've got all my lace down. And next we're going to be working on our latch for the side. While my lace dries though, and your lace dries, I'm going to go get me a cup of tea, and then we will continue on. Okay, we are ready to install our latches. Now one thing you're going to want to do at this point is open up, and you're going to want to poke through those holes to get to the other side. Just like that. If you don't have a pick or whatever, find something sharp and small to get through. Your pin from your glue, one of your pins from your glue tip can help. You just want to make sure you can get that brad through. So that will work as well. Make sure that you can get back through. And then we'll lay the paper that goes over it to hide the little brads. Got that going. Okay, so I have this, and this is the one I did for the boy. I'm going to trim around to get some of that black chipboard cleaned up so it's not peeking out. Okay, so we're just going to poke these through here. Okay, once you got your brad through, let's add the glue to the back side of this, because this is what's going to help keep this on. So, especially since there's not a whole lot of place there for the brads to get through. And we'll wipe up any glue residue. Okay, so once you have it in there, we're just going to press down, and we're going to move back those brads the way they're supposed to go. And again, this is kind of hard. You can use your little bone folder to get those smooth and down. So there's one side. Let's grab the other side. And remember, the latch should be coming down like this, so the point is down. Okay. So we are going to add a little bit of glue. And you'll just want to get around the edges of this. So tiny. Alright. So just line it up with the holes there. And I'll use my bone folder to make sure that that's down really good. Okay, let's check it out. Wipe up any glue that is not, and you should be able to latch. So I've got both of mine on. Let's finish up on the decorating. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it's the hearts. So what we're first going to do is cut out and around this image. And then we're going to cut out and around the baby one. So let's do that. Now cut a piece of cardstock that is 2 3/8 inch by 4 3/4 inch. This should fit nicely centered inside, giving you a white border around it. We're going to apply glue to this and glue that down. Alrighty, so I've got my albums here. Alright, we're going to apply glue to the back of this, and we are going to mount this on our paper. Now notice when I have this down, I am leaving some of that wider flowery decorative paper showing around, kind of like a border around it. So let's glue those down, and I'll show you what both of mine look like when I'm done. Okay, let's grab these pieces here. I'm just going to bring my albums like this. We're going to apply glue to the back of this. And then we are going to offset this just a little bit, bring it down, and glue that without going over the bottom of your page. I've got both of mine on there, and I'm going to bring them up so you can see. I did not go over the bottom of the page any. In your paper pack, you will find this print. It'll say baby, it's a heart and a bow, and on the back is the baby writing. Okay. To make this easy, let's just cut out this panel here. Alrighty. Oops, sorry about the camera there. So I've got both of my pieces out, and I'm going to put these back in my reserves. What we're going to do is we're going to fussy cut around this pretty little wreath heart in the bow, and I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. Alright, I'm going to bring mine up. This is what yours should look like. And these will go in our reserves, just in case we need something there. Okay, also in your reserves, pull out some white cardstock, and what we're going to do is apply glue, and we're going to glue this down. And then we are going to fussy cut around this. And the reason why I do this sometimes is to stiffen up the paper, especially if it's going to be somewhere on the outside, and it makes it more durable. And we're going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch of white showing around this, which will border it nicely. So I'm going to get mine ready to go here, and I will show you what mine looks like. Okay, I did the best I could, but this is what I came up with. All these little white scraps, you can just throw those away. For now, set these off to the side. All right, we're going to get the spine piece on. We'll just set these off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. The one that we want is we're just going to cut this piece right out. For the girls, yours looks like this. Cut this panel out. After you've done that, we'll stick this in our reserves. Okay, for non-die cutters that are using the Tim Holtz Baroque frame, all you're going to do is apply glue to the back of that and glue it down. Okay, and then you can cut out and around. Another way to do it is just to hold it here and then cut out first around your image and then glue it to the back of this. Okay, die cutters. What you're going to do is get into your eyelet lace frames. Okay, whoops, place that down so that your image is centered in, and we're going to run this through the die cutter. Now, one thing that you'll want to do is, you see this little piece here? This piece is actually going to cut out that middle piece. So if you want to run it all through at once, that saves time. But let's go ahead and do that. Okay, die cutters, you are going to apply glue to that, and you are going to glue that down. Then you'll apply glue to the back of this, and you will center it in there. Those of you that had used the Baroque frame and have your piece mounted back behind, you will apply glue to the back of this, and you will place it right there on your spine. So yours will look like this. If you have some pink ribbon, make a bow and glue that down. If for the boy album, I'll show you mine. Okay, so I used a little bit of hot glue to help tack this and have it dry faster. Now, the smallest of your flat back pearls, you'll apply glue, and you'll glue that down right in the center of that bow. Okay, grab 2 more of your smallest ones, and we will apply glue, and glue those down to the spine, just like that. Kind of space them out. Okay, got both mine down. So I've made some flowers here for the cover, and I'm going to add in a couple of the Tim Holtz bouquet. However, I wanted to show you how to achieve this in case you were wondering. So I'm going to do this with the blue. So it's going to be a lighter and then darker. So what I used out of the Ariana blooms was, for the largest flower, is I got 2 of this size. Here's the largest and the next size down. So I got 2 of those. Not going to use the large. And then 1 size down from this. Okay, so here's my scratch piece paper here. Robin's egg is what I will start with. I'm going to blot off some of that color. And I'm going to lightly swipe on my flower with the robin's egg. I'm also going to do this for the back side. So I'm going to do that with each one of these. Alright, so you'll want to daub off most of your stuff here, and then what you're going to do is lightly swirl so it blends just in the center. Just a little bit on each one. Okay? So I am using the Heartfelt Creations Deluxe Flower Shaping Kit. They do have a smaller one called the Essentials. And my molding mat is very well loved, as you can see. And I'm going to grab a stylus out of here. Now, to make this so in case you do have the Essentials, I'll just use these 2 tips. A larger and a smaller. So what we're going to do is put these down, face down. And on this application, we're going to spray these with some water. Okay? All I'm going to do is press down along the edges on each one of these, just the edges, like so. So once you've gotten around all your edges, you're going to flip it over to the other side, and you're just going to press and go around in a circle. Just kind of press it and go around. You're definitely going to have to wait for these to dry before you layer them on. So I'm going to give mine a moment to dry. Alright, I am back. So these are, I think, dry enough. I'm going to use a little hot glue for quick tacking on this. And I'm going to place one inside the other, kind of offset. And I can use this to press down in the center. Same thing with the small one. Apply some glue there and stick it in. Okay, you can then kind of spread out or fan out some of yours if you want a flatter style flower. The Nouveau drops. What you will do here is you'll just squirt some in the center. Whoops, had a little air bubble, until you can make a ball. And then what you'll do is just set that off to the side. And for the smaller flowers, okay, what I did was I took 2 of the smallest, and so I have 2 of these small ones, and I used the pink to cover it. So for this, I'm going to go darker and use the cyan color. And I'll do the same over here. And what I'll do is on the back, I'll just blot some on too. For the other two small flowers, you will use your robin's egg blue or your shabby pink, and you'll just fill it in like this. Okay, so for shaping, all you're going to do is spray with some water. Just kind of get the ends here. This is real simple, basic flower shaping here. And just kind of pat down on those edges. Then what you'll do is just kind of press down in the middle and let it form itself up. Just like that. So I'm going to put my little Nuvo drop in here. And I'll set that off to the side to dry. And I'll do the same with this one. Okay. So that's how the flowers were made. So I'm allowing the centers of my flowers to dry. I've got some cuttings of my lace, and I'm going to glue it down right here, and I have a little strip here, and I'm going to glue that right up here. And I'm going to do the same over here. Let's place our first flower, and I'm going to place one right here. I think you can see that for both. Next, take a small darker one and lighter one, and we're going to glue those up there. The last two small flowers that we've done are out of your pack. Now you don't have to have small flowers, but this is what I'm doing. I'm going to place them down here. Alright, let's get about 3 of the Tim Holtz. I've daubed on a little bit of pink on there. And a blue, whichever. I'm just going to stick one right there. Next little one, I'll stick here. And the next little one, oh, I think I'll stick that one right here. Just peeking out a little. Remember these I had you stick off to the side? We're going to apply glue to the back, and it gets mounted center on the back of our album. So let's do that. Okay, our album is decorated front and back. Let's move on into the inside to page 1. So really quick, as we go into the inner parts of our pages, I would like to point out that how I identify these are like reading a book. Page 1, page 2, 3, 4, and so on. So in case you need to pause the video, you can find exactly where you are if your video doesn't pick up from where you left off. In your paper pack, you will find these prints. On the back, it has the polka dots. Very cute. So I'm going to set one off to the side. Everyone will do the same, whether you're doing for the boy or for the girl. Now, if you got any of this adhesive from your book, you'll want to make sure that that is off. Either pick it off or trim it off. So our first cut is we're going to turn our paper like this, looking at it like this. We're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. So this is what you should have here. Now, double yours up like this. Your little trim is off to the left. Turn this completely upside down. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. After you've made that cut, this is what you should have. So one of these goes with our page 1. This one is going to be for our page 2. So set this off to the side. Don't put it in your reserves, just in case you accidentally grab it and cut into it and then it's gone. So I usually just like to set it off to the side, out of the way. We'll start working with this. and this. We're going to need a piece of cardstock, and you'll want to cut it to 7 inches by 5 5/8 of an inch. And then we're going to need our scoring board. Place your piece of cardstock. You are 7 inches across the board. At a 1/2 inch, we're going to score. And at 6 1/2 inches, we're going to score. Now let's turn it. At a 1/2 inch, score. Okay, before we do any folding, we're going to, first off, lay this down, and you should fit in between your score lines, okay? Make sure that you have at least an inch up here. Let's grab our EK tools, and this is the large or deep edge. It's about an inch to 1/8 about in size as far as how tall the trim is. So all we're going to do is, here's the score line. It's the side with no score. We're going to punch along that long side. This is what yours should look like. Okay, let's get a pair of scissors out. You see this small little corner? Let's just cut that little corner out on our score lines. Just notch that right on out. There we go. Now let's fold. And one thing is you can use your bone folder to help with those creases. And we'll fold up on the bottom as well. Okay, here is what we want to do is, first off, we're going to pull in the sides like so. As you can see, I'm actually adding a little bit of glue down here. And I'm making sure that it isn't over, but what I am going to grab is a piece of cardstock, and I'll use these two. Okay, I'm just going to place that down, and these are like my scratch pieces is all. I'm going to pull these in, and I'm going to press up. The reason why I'm putting the scrap cardstock in there is what it's going to do is get any glue that seeps over the sides. It will catch it. Okay, let's grab this, and if you need to trim it, you will be trimming on the bottom of this to fit. I'm going to go with it. I think this looks good, just like this. I'm just going to pull it up. It may overlap just a little bit. You can see some pink. We won't be able to see that. So apply glue and glue that down. Now, if you decided not to trim yours up, and you're going to be overlapping a little bit on there, I suggest using one of your scratch pieces just to place right back behind so that any glue will be caught on the cardstock. And then just make sure you rub it really good and remove that cardstock, and you'll see it will sop up a lot of the glue there. Make sure nothing's wet. Alrighty, so I am ready to go here. I am going to be using my 1/4 inch score tape, or actually my 3/8 would work really good here. Okay, so one thing is you're not going to want to put score tape back behind your trim because it's just going to catch anything. So that's where I'm going to be using glue and then score tape around here. Hope that made sense. The 3/8 works perfect because it fits right on in there. And if you get any score tape that hangs over the edges there, definitely will want to trim that off. I have a little down here. Okay, make sure that score tape is down really good. Now I'm going to apply some glue back to this. And again, I will need my little scratch pieces of cardstock. And I'll just slide that right on in there like this. And I have another piece like this. So where we're going to place this is right down here. So I'll remove the backing off my score tape. And I'm ready to place this. So I'm going to bring it down. And I'm not going to quite center it. I'm going to be probably about 3/4 of an inch in from the left side. And I'll bring it to the bottom and press. And I'll make sure that I press down really good back there. Make sure any glue gets sopped up. Okay, so this is what you should look like. Okay, so I created this and it's really cute. And I'm going to tell you what size it is. And it was done on my printer. And then I printed it out onto the white cardstock. Now, my printer does not take 110-pound cardstock. It did take 90-pound. So depending on what kind of printer you have, you may even have to go down to a 65-pound. All I did was, the final measurement at least, is 4 1/8 wide by, I think it's 5 5/8 tall. And I'm going to bring this up if you would like to do something like this as well. All I did was an about me, the name, date of birth, weight, height. So if you have your smartphone out and would like to take a picture really quick so that you can type something like this up, then do so. So I thought this would be a great idea, and I think that it would be, well, in most baby albums, you have something like this. So as far as the font that I used, and I used Microsoft Word, all I did was I went in and I made sure that there was no spacing, of course, for the new document. The About Me was done in 26 point, and it was the brush script font. I used the same font throughout, but these were done in 16 PT point size. So hopefully that will help you. And for now, I can just stick that right in the pocket here until I'm done. I might leave it there, or I might put it on a fold out. I haven't decided quite yet. So once you've done that, and you're ready to move on, then we will start with a fold out. Okay, so if you're not die cutting, you will do the same, and I will help you through this, but everyone cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 7 inches. Let's start with the die cutters. I'm in the eyelet lace frames. I have this large one. I'm going to place this down, and I'm going to run this through my die cutter. So let's do that to start. Die cutters, this is what you should have. Now, keep in mind, die cutters, that on this particular die, at least for me, I did have to shim it, and I did have to run it through a few times to get everything to cut out. And I even moved it around on my plate. And I think it's because it's such an intricate, large die. So just a fair warning there. So that is what you should have. Non-die cutters. On your piece, you're going to need a ruler and your pencil. Measure in, just come down here. Measure in 1 inch from the side, make a pencil mark, and you'll want to do it up here as well. It'll help you stay straight. About right here. And you'll do light pencil marks. From this side, measure in 1 inch. And the same down here. Now take your ruler, line it up, try to get as even as you can, and come down about 1.5 inches or so and lightly draw your line. Same over here. Okay. Now from the top, you're going to measure down 1 inch, and let's just go 1 3/8, 1 3/8. And you'll measure up from the bottom 1 3/8. Okay, we're going to do a pencil line across. So it's easier for me to line up when I do a couple different lines here. At least for me it is, to get us straight. All right, we're going to do the same thing. Line up your pencil marks and draw. And from here. Okay, you can erase any other lines going on there. All right, what you're going to need is a cutting pad. And then what you're going to do is use your knife and cut that center out. And then erase any pencil marks that you might have. So non-die cutters, your frame will look like this. Grab one of your clear plastic sheets. Now I'm looking at mine, so I'm 11 inches over. So to make the most out of this, I'm going to measure over 5 inches and cut. The larger piece you can stick in your reserves. Now you're gonna look like this. So you're 5 inches wide. I'm gonna turn it. We're gonna measure over 7 inches and cut. This leftover piece, save it. And that includes you too, Marianne, if you were taking this tutorial. We may be using this because I have an idea for this. So set that off to the side where it won't get lost. Okay, so you'll probably want a paper towel handy here. But what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna apply glue to the back of your die cut or your frame, to the back of your frame, and you're going to glue that right on top of your 5x7 there. So let's do that. So when I applied my glue, I went around the edges, and now it's hard to see, but I'm going to try and center this as best I can anyway, so that it's even on the sides, the bottom, and I'm going to have more left over on the top. And I'm going to get me a paper towel to sop up some of this glue. And if you find that you're not quite quick enough, a little damp paper towel will work. But as you can see, I have more of a lip up here. So I cleaned mine up a bit. If I need to wipe down any fingerprints or whatnot, I'll do that. So set your little frames off to the side. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches by 8.5 inches. And then we're going to place this on our scoring board. We are 8.5 inches across. At 8 inches, we're going to score. And at 8 1/8 of an inch, we're going to score. Okay, then we're going to fold on our score lines. Use your bone folder. Okay, so right now you have an outside outside score line and an inside one. On the inside one, pinch and tuck back this flap behind. Our flap is going to be back behind on the left side. Let's find our paper. In your reserves, you will find the stripe print. On the back side, it is this. So I am looking at it like this, and I'm going to turn it. So now it's like this. We got the straight edge this way, straight edge this way. Measure over 5 7/8 of an inch and cut. This piece goes in our reserves. Now measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and cut. This piece goes in our reserves. So we're going to apply glue to this side, and we are going to glue this down. Now we're going to center it so it will give us a white frame around this piece. And remember, our hinge is off to the left and tucked back behind. Grab your little frame, and remember at the top it has a wider edge than down here. We're going to flip that over. That is the top, and we're going to use our glue because this does dry clear, and we're just going to get along the edges here. Okay. We're going to place this. Now when I place this about a 1/4 inch from the bottom, I am even from side to side, and I'm going to press this down. Now on the sides, I'm going to bring them in to pucker out just a little bit, but not that much. It makes it easier to slide things in and out of the pocket. So now that you have that down, grab your scratch piece of paper, use your bone folder. Make sure that glue is down. Wipe up any glue that is squirting out if you have that. And voila, we have a very pretty thing. Now we are going to create for the inside the little photo mat that goes inside. Got a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches wide by 5 3/4 inch tall. Now once you do that, since some of us placed our glue maybe more on the inside than outside, check to make sure we are 6 inches wide. Make sure that that slides in easily into your pocket. Okay, just like that. Let's find some paper to place over it. If you need to trim your sides or a little on your top, do so. The paper I want to use on this is this print. On the back it looks like this, and this is what we're going to look at while we're cutting to make sure we have the same leftovers. So look at it like this, measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut. So turn it now that you are looking at it like this. Place it down. Make sure that you are fitting well. If you were to place it up, leaving yourself a little bit of white on the sides, the same amount of border as the sides as the top. Now I want you to, just in case you trimmed yours a bit, I want you to take your pencil and we're going to use it to make a pencil mark where we need to cut. And remember, you'll want a little bit of white showing. So that's where I'm going to cut. And after doing so, flipping it over, I'm going to take a look. Now that looks good, and it looks nice. So now I'm going to apply glue and glue that down. Those of you that are unsure about picture mats, this is how I like to do my picture mats. I like to mount my decorative cardstock on top of white cardstock, leaving a little border behind. Little piece that was cut off, this is perfect to create into a little pull tab. So I'm going to take this and just cut this out, and then I can cut it down to size. Okay, I'm going to fold this in half. You can see what I'm doing here. I don't need quite that much, so I'm going to just chop off right underneath the flower there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply glue, and I'll do the same over here. Make sure you get around there. So I've got glue. We're just going to slide that, center it, and press it down so it all adheres down together. Okay? Slide that in your pocket and see how it works for you. I like it. Grab one of your flat back pearls, whichever size you'd like. And I'm going for the larger one here, and I'm going to place it right here. And it's on the pull tab, right up here. That looks good, especially once we mount this right here. It's going to look really good.